Happy birthday, SVA, and we're finding stuff out about Monty and Marty from their pastors too that we didn't know about. So, anyway, this is a part of mine and Mary's journey here, and we thank Monty, Marty, and the rest of the staff, and SVA, and the Lord that we get to walk it. So, live it. It was Easter Sunday 9 years ago, the first time Mary and I came to SVA. We'd been married for 7 years, and saying that the honeymoon was over was inaccurate. We were nearing the end of the line. We loved each other, but we didn't know how to express it. It didn't strike me as anything strange when Mary told me that she wanted to go to church that Easter. We had both been raised Catholic, and I knew that Easter was one of the important holidays. Then it got a little bit weird. Mary told me she didn't want to go to Catholic Mass, opened the local paper to the church page, closed her eyes, did one of these, and landed on put a finger down on an Easter bunny with the caption that asked, "Is this what Easter means to you?" It was SVA's ad that year, and that's how we came here the first time.
And John wasn't thrilled. But he came with me, and it was a strange service. Video, music, skit. There was a little bit of everything thrown in, and I had no idea what the heck was happening. I hated it. But I remember thinking that these guys loved what they do, and I wanted to know if they served up that kind of meat every Sunday, or was it just a one-time gig for the once-a-year crowd? And so I went back.
Over the next couple of months, Mary came to SVA every Sunday, and I stayed home waiting for her to lose interest. In time, the change and excitement I saw in Mary brought me back.
We'd come in late, and we'd leave early. I'd listened to every word, though, and I don't think I made it through the next several Sundays without crying. Every week, Monty would say the words, "You're not here by accident," and I held on to them. In our newcomer's gift, we were given a Bible and a little book called More Than a Carpenter, and I soaked them up.
As I began to attend regularly, I got excited also. Monty and Marty and the rest of the staff weren't just preaching on Sundays. They were living their words out through the week. There were Bible studies, marriage retreats, prayer groups, and book studies. They were planning mission trips. There was a new ministry called Celebrate Recovery starting. The coffee was real good, and that's important too.
Thank you. That summer, I joined my first ever Bible study, and I was terrified. I was sure everyone knew everyone else, and I didn't know anyone, and I wasn't a church girl, and I didn't have the study book, and I didn't know Jesus, and I wanted to cry, and I wanted to leave. But something kept me planted for just a minute longer, and that's when Paula slid over and asked if I'd share her study book. It was such a simple act of kindness, but it meant everything to me. That night, I wrote down my first prayer request. I still remember it. It said, "I'm a runner, and I don't want to run anymore. Please pray that God would keep us in church." The grace and truth being given to us were chipping away at a lifetime of indifference and the bad taste that I had towards Christ and Christians. For the first time in my life, Jesus had been represented to me in a manner that allowed me to see his love and accept what he had done for me. I gave my life to him that following November. Change was happening. John was serving on the setup and tear down team, and I was serving as a greeter. We both got involved in Celebrate Recovery. We joined book groups and Bible studies, step groups, LRS classes, and LTG groups.
And that winter, SVA had a marriage encounter at a ski cabin up on Snoqualmie Pass. I had no idea what it would be like, and I was nervous, but I knew I had to ask Mary to go. Our marriage was improving, and I didn't want to take a step backwards. If I was hopeful to be going, I'd have to say Mary was ecstatic. We both knew it would help us.
And our marriage was changing. We were talking again and working through so much. With Christ in our life and SVA as our classroom, we learned what it really meant to honor each other. And I quit battling John for position. When SVA offered the 7 C's of Marriage seminar, we were there. Along with several other couples, we renewed our vows in the House of Soul. When Timothy and Heart Touch we were offered, we were honored to be a part of it, and our lives changed again. The training we received there proved invaluable, not only for the areas where we were already serving, but later when our lives would take another turn. We were being mentored, and we were mentoring others. We were beginning to give back what had been so freely given to us. We were a team again.
Sharing the mic. Mary joined a women's retreat team, and the following 2 years, she led those retreats. And I'm breaking it again. Mary asked me to leave this out, but the very first day at her very first retreat, she called me in tears and said, I'm coming home. So I got a dozen Krispy Kremes. That place had just opened, and I waited for Mary, and I'm going to pick her up, and she called back and said, I'm staying. So I ate a dozen Krispy Kreme donuts. Anyway, Mary was also writing for the Journey magazine, SVA's magazine. And SVA was setting Mary free to blossom, to really grow. One night, me and a few buddies got together and discussed ministering and serving in our community here. A month later, SVA was in Occidental Park, sharing a meal along with a smile with homeless people. It was Urban Mission's first trip. In January 2007, SVA commissioned Mary and myself as missionaries to Mexico. It had been over 4 years from the first visions of serving in Mexico till we arrived. Oddly enough, it was the SVA mission trip to Louisiana that put the two of us on the same page. The fears, the worries, along with all the reasons we couldn't go to Mexico, disappeared. As we started our drive south, we knew the Lord was with us, but just as important, SVA family accompanied us also.
Without SVA, we may not have been introduced to Jesus in the same manner, and we might not have heard that particular call to Mexico or been prepared to respond to it. We might have missed out on one of the most amazing faith walks of our life. After 2 years as missionaries, we became the mission field when our home flooded last year, and SVA was right there again. Men, women, pastors, and youth teams showed up at our house with hammers and knee pads and food and laughter, and you supported us once again. SVA, you do missions well. And now John's working in the youth ministry, and he loves it, and I get to bring my admin skills to work as Monty's assistant. And we get to serve SVA again with the very skills we learned here.
So 10 years later, here we are with a bigger team of pastors that continue to live out Sunday messages and shepherd a living, growing church that sees the world as God sees it and says, we'll go. SVA had sent teams to Mexico, Guatemala, Louisiana, Burma, Thailand, Seattle, India, Uganda. Our presence remains in those places, not only through prayers, but by the hundreds of children being supported by SVA. The many projects to improve the lives of the people there, and the desire of teams to return. SVA has touched thousands of peoples for the glory of God. There's Pastor Rod, a homegrown SVAite ministering in Alaska. Hundreds of children right here who receive shoes and school supplies, along with all the Christmas gifts SVA sends out every year.
So imagine if SVA didn't exist. I suppose my finger would have landed on a different church in the newspaper, but I don't know what would have happened after that. All I know is that God wanted John and I to come to him, and he chose SVA to be the soil that we would finally take root and thrive in. Our endless gratitude to Monty and Amy and Marty and Nan and all the families that answered the call, that paid the cost, and gave so much to make sure SVA was here. And if this is your first time to SVA, welcome. You're not here by accident, and I hope you find the soil to be as rich and fertile as we did 9 years ago. Thank you.
Thanks, Jay.